through this building, as well as our friends on Zoom, as we gather here for a time of healing, learning, and sharing with each other, so that only the highest and best will manifest. We give thanks. Amen.
Amen.
So our topic this afternoon is understanding. And usually, what is the first word you all think about when you are told understanding, or when you're asked about understanding? What is the first word that usually comes to mind?
I would say I actually revert back into childhood of when I first was being taught something.
Mm-hmm. Right. Familiar with it? Do you understand? Did you get that?
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't understand.
Open is the first word that comes up for me.
What is it?
Open.
Open.
That's interesting. Because some of the words that other people come out, and I guess as we get older, then of course our thought process has changed. And one of them is knowing. Do you know? Do you understand? So today we will be talking about understanding, which is one of the 12 powers. And just to go briefly about the 12 powers again, or the powers that are located within our vital nerve centers in our body. And it is important that we know and understand about the 12 powers, because they really affect our body and it affects our health. So I believe that the more we learn and understand about the 12 powers, the healthier, and the more we understand, and the more we can communicate with it, with ourselves and with our inner self, with our inner knowing, and that path that we are on to know thyself. So understanding is located in the front brain, and it is very close to wisdom, knowledge, intelligence, and of course, understanding is part of it. They are closely related and they overlap. There are two realms of mind that work together here. One is pure idea or pure logic, which of course is our intuition, because our intuition is that inner knowing that connects us with our higher self. The other one is reason, the logic of the material world, because we are part of the material world. So pure ideas are immediately correct when acting on the idea, which is the experience one creates. And when we look at it that way, then we look at reason, and that is again tying us to the material world. Reason is thought and action of the mind. It is concerned with the relation of ideas in the outer world. Reason is deductive. Pure idea is induction. Deduction is a process of elimination from the abstract to the specific. Using plants as an example of an abstract, from the plant world, there is cactus, and in the cactus world, there are saguaros. So again, going on down from the abstract and going into more specifics. Each step in deducting or eliminating a plant. Induction is a process of adding from the inner to the outer. Having a seed, we add the seed with the earth to produce a result. And when we are planting the seed, we of course know what the effect will be, because we know what we are planting. Pure ideas do not have reason. Putting that idea into action, which is the experience, makes the reason. Reason, again, is the logical world. The logical world is formed by living. Through living, one makes decisions. From those decisions, we lay the foundation for the next action, or what our experiences are or have been. Understand that the material world, the spiritual world, and the intuition are all in the same world.
Does anybody have questions at this point? Because it could
It can
get
get a little confusing, or
Mhm.
Nope.
Nope.
Just use your intuition, then you won't get the feeling.
Yep, that inner knowing. Intuition and reason is metaphysics. Development of spiritual understanding is not the same for everyone. For each of us have our own differences and our own experiences, so we all learn at a different pace. Paul developed spiritual understanding from a blinding flash, and it was that flash that surfaced and stored up, which surfaced up any stored up spiritual experiences from past lives. It would be really challenging if we all try to recall all our past lives. I couldn't even imagine. And it is amazing that for Paul, it was that flash of light that brought out the past life to help him understand. There are many different experiences that one has that lead to understanding. In many cases, these experiences are traumatic and life-threatening. But these experiences don't always have to be traumatic. They can be gentle. For as a man thinketh within his heart, so is he. And there are no exceptions to this. Understanding the world one lives in is to know that understanding is always changing. Because what is the one thing that always happens? Change.
Oh boy.
Yep. And it's a good thing that our understanding changes along with the change. Isn't that? The knowledge of this causes the effect to be gentle. When it is time to change, instead of resisting, let the experience happen. Then those traumatic or life-threatening experiences are not necessary. Instead, ask for the next step and do that step one breath at a time. Do not hurry this process, for as long as we are living, there is plenty of time to develop. Spiritual understanding is through the feminine realm of the soul. Each person has a male and a female realm, and each realm has characteristics as the male and the female has. Creation is a female aspect. Understand what one is planting is already knowing what is in the effect. Understanding is developed through prayer and silent meditation. Because when one quiets down, we have the ability to attune ourselves with the material and spiritual realms, which are experiences of this life and other lifetimes as well that we have lived. To be receptive to higher understanding and truth, affirm within yourself, create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew thy spirit in me. So that is the path to understanding, or to knowing about ourselves, and to keep on our path to know thyself. Does anybody have any questions?
Or comments?
Mhm.
To know.
No, when you think of a memory that you had, there's always an understanding that leads to that experience.
Mhm.
So when it wasn't a very pleasant experience, can you get the understanding of the motive that got you into that experience?
So what you're asking is if the experience was pleasant, you're saying, can we go back and find?
Unpleasant.
If it was unpleasant. Well, I know for me, when it comes to experiences, and it seems that most of the time, most of us remember the unpleasant experiences more than the pleasant.
Well, I want to know what not to do the next time. So if I understand how I got into the unpleasant, then I won't do it again.
Mhm.
I would say to get quiet, get in that, even though it might be a very challenging thing, that it would be time to be in the calm, or be in a very safe place and be still. And your body knows that you've had an unpleasant experience. And I think that knowing, that intuition sort of gives you that feeling, okay, this feels like I've been here before, something happened. And I think when that little voice starts telling you, okay, there's something wrong here, then our mind could go back and think, okay, what happened here back then, at that unpleasant situation? And how can I change it so that I can then welcome this new experience and say, okay, I understand or I know what happened last time. Therefore, now I'm asking for guidance so that I can walk through this experience and change it. Not get stuck in it or not feel that unpleasantness, but accept whatever the change is and help me go through it in a manner that I can now understand what went wrong back then and how I can change it now.
What you're saying is that to understand how you got into there and it was unpleasant, you don't also understand what's different than do the same thing.
Right, so I will not do the
You
same.
have that understanding in you.
Right, because that, from going through that unpleasant experience, it usually is stuck somewhere in my knowing. And that's where that deja vu or that experience is telling you, be careful here. Tread slowly and gently and pay attention so that I won't get stuck in that mess again and that I may learn to forgive and move forward.
So what you do is
Letting it go.
you remember the understanding that got you in there, and then with the all-knowing within you, you do the opposite.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then understanding is that all understanding is within you.
That's correct. And that's the importance of getting quiet and learning to know yourself. Because if we're not paying attention, we're not aware, and we'll probably go through the same thing again, and then come out and say, oh my gosh, how did I get stuck in this mess again?
It's really interesting because when I have gone through a really bad, unpleasant experience and I've not pulled that weed or replaced it, and I thought about it again and thought about it again and just did this little cycle to let it stay in my life, it became planted. It was just there. And, it's important to, once you go back to that feeling, at least for myself, that one particular that I can recall of a bad experience, I know that there was something there karmically that was from a past life that I hadn't completed out and why I experienced it this life. And once I did it, it was over. And to replace it. But what I replaced it with was happiness, health, and wealth. Once I realized, that you can do that, now it's gone. There's no such thing anymore. And I know my karma's been cleared. So that's just a whole nother.
Yeah, and that awareness that you mentioned about, you realize that you pulled that weed and then you replaced it with the new thoughts and ideas that you now want,
Mm-hmm.
so that you won't go back through that again, that it's been cleared.
Yeah. And I have happiness, health, and wealth in my life. And I don't need to revisit it. No revisiting. Because like you revisit it, you're just recreating it, We let it go. It's like that, we've talked about, we had universal metaphysics as a class, and we were talking about stars being habits. And, we have the bright stars and we have the like dim stars, and the bright stars are the new ones, and the strong ones, and the dim ones, they're ready to be gone, to let go, and so that we can recreate a new one. And I just think that that's what those are, the old stuff that needs to be gone and let go and start a new habit, but do it immediately when you're ready to let it go.
Like I think I talked about it before, where I used to have this recurring thing for years around the end of the year holidays. And it was just always miserable. And something always happened that was just a mess. And this year, I think I still need to do some quiet time with it and get more understanding. But what I feel like this year is I was trying to recreate something from my childhood that just things have changed. That's not how it is anymore. That holiday's not going to exist that way anymore. Those people aren't around anymore that made it joyful. So let it go and become something else, and embrace some new tradition or not a tradition, just another day in the year and have a good time and enjoy the time off or whatever. So I think that's what I got this year. I think I have to do some more quiet time and more understanding with it, but we'll find out next year if it's worked.
Yeah. David taught me something so like when we talk about Christmas, my mother taught me that it had to be beautiful. It had to have all these presents and big tree and these gorgeous, I don't have my gorgeous, the whole visual and everybody's there and everybody's in. And it ended up that we changed it by, hi, Sean Marcus, by not having Christmas this way anymore. And I said, if you're going to, be closer than next year, we're going to just have dinner. She's like, well, what about all the presents? And I said, it is the same day as every other day. Every single day is a holiday. If you want it to be a holiday every day or a special day, it could be any day of the year. It doesn't have to be Christmas Day to celebrate someone or something. And if you, David, he taught me that, even gifts, if you really want to give someone something, then give it to them any time of the year, anytime when you feel that is very special in your heart to give it to them, then do it then.
Mm-hmm.
And, this Christmas thing, in United States and probably everywhere else in the world, it's been, created into this big, huge thing, which stresses people out. And, and David, he talks about being on vacation all the time. That he can, in the instant, be in that place of his beauty of where he's been in the world at any given moment. And he really feels it. He feels that he is there. And for me, I learned that from him, and it just is so beautiful. Like I feel at peace now because I could go to Maui anytime I want. Right here, if I close my eyes, I'm just back. I'm in it. And it's there's no more of a force anymore. So it's an interesting, way to see it, where it's not a demand and you have to give someone a gift if they're going to be there,
Yeah, because you're right. It's stressful.
Yeah.
And when you don't go along, people think you're a Scrooge or whatever, but anymore it's this year it was a little easier because of COVID. So
Yeah, it changes things a little bit now, right? Now you could kind of, start all over. Make it a different way. But when the demand isn't so expectations, like if the person's gonna be there, if someone's gonna be there, you don't have to give them a gift. Like, I guess, the rules need to change a little bit. Hey, don't, absolutely don't bring a gift. This is about us and we're gonna eat, or something like that, and see how that goes. I mean, it was really good for Christmas. Only had a couple of us, but it was really good. Really,
Yeah.
really good.
But that understanding really helps, and being, like I said, being in the quiet, and because you can, I know that, if I bring up a bad situation in my memory, my body gets stressed and tensed from the memory of it. So I know right away where I'm triggered and targeted.
Mhm. So you haven't let it go.
Right.
And replaced it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because during that time would be the best time, even if it just takes you a couple minutes to just put it in your mind that I'm replacing it with happiness, health, and wealth. Even if you have to come back later and work on it some more,
Mm.
just at least replace it
Right.
as you can.
Mhm. Pull that weed.
Yeah.
But David also, I keep referring to David, but the teachings, what we teach, pull it and replace it right then and there. Because you pull it, there's a hole, and then you go right back to the same habit. So that's why you're thinking of it again.
Bad habits have the sneaky way of crawling back into there. So you gotta let it go.
And replace.
Yes,
And replace.
yes.
That's the biggest point. Replace it.
Do not leave
Right
that
then and there.
vacuum.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we do our meditation to self-realize the power of understanding, we will have our love offering. Dear Father, Mother God, as we hold our love offering between our hands, we give back to the source that which you have placed in our hands. We give to support the work of this chapel. And when we do so, we put into effect the law of tenfold return. So those who give freely and from the heart, we give thanks. Amen.
Amen.
Do I press this right here?
It's on right now, so you press.
This one? This one. Oh, okay. All right. You see yourself with a kindness and a love that is beyond anything you have ever felt before. And as you are standing there next to this pool of light, you are given a beautiful golden goblet with which to drink the water from this pool of light. You bend down and dip this goblet into the pool of pure white light, bringing it up to your lips, anxious to feel its energy throughout your body. You drink this radiant water, feeling as it touches every cell of your being, sending its healing energy throughout your body. A wave of well-being is washed over you, as if a new energy had begun flowing through your veins. Extremely grateful and humble for this wonderful experience, knowing that you have accomplished important healing work. I am going to leave you now for a few minutes next to this pool of light, allowing you time to receive and to fully enjoy this experience. It is time now to come back, remembering all that you've seen, felt, and heard. Back to the steps, back to the path leading down the mountain, knowing that this place is always there for you to come to anytime you wish, just by closing your eyes and taking a few deep breaths and desiring to be there. As you come back, you start to be aware of your body and the room you are in, feeling refreshed and alert. Whenever you're completely back, you may open your eyes. So now that you guys are all back in your bodies,
I would like to
Yes, that's right.
My body
That
is
you're back
eternal.
here present.
My body is
mind.
eternal.
Yes. Would anybody like to share your experience and see what kind of understanding you got on your meditation?
We all are going to share. Yes.
Well, mine was a great meditation, Reverend Ernestina. Thank you. And actually, the understanding I got was some insight to the talk I'm preparing, and also understanding about some of the I'm taking that trip tomorrow to Raton, and we've done this a couple of times, but I've just had an unease about it since yesterday. I've had feel like I've had to prepare some instructions for my husband in case something happens to me, the things he needs to do, and I haven't had that sense before, so it's kind of unsettling. But I think it's an understanding. What I got is to know that this was just a step of something I needed to do, whether I'm going on a trip or not, and then this is just the time to do it. So this is, and I ended up feeling complete and comfortable now. So that kind of the unease has gone away.
Well, that's
So.
good. That was a very wonderful thing to do to help you get over some of that. Knowing deep within yourself that you are safe and that your trip will run smoothly and you'll go there and come back with everything going through well.
Mhm.
Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing.
For myself, I was shown, through that female energy. It was almost like a angel appearing, and then I was just connected universally through all the message that was coming through, and it was to have an understanding of each experience in life that that we all, because you're all part of me too. That each experience that I go through is to complete out something from priors, or expanding in futures, expanding and self, and igniting things within, and doing it differently each time, doing it in a better way. I wouldn't say better, or I guess that's not really the right word for it, but excelling my mind in the understanding that it can be easier. Each process can become easier and easier as I go through them. And so I don't need to really go through, it just is. So I was experiencing the softness of experiences.
And to your understanding.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was a very common experience, a very common, almost like a inner life experience. It really brought up like the tension and anxiety of the last week, and just the different trials I'm going through. So yeah, but it was very common, very much needed. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Hadiam, would you care to share with us?
Yes, I really like that meditation. I didn't want to come back. It's too comfortable. But probably because I've been going through some things, even though they were beautiful images, it was kind of dark. Water and everything, but the atmosphere was just dark. So I was just like, How do I get out of this? And I really have been in this for a long, long time. I mean, not all the time, but it's just something very, very old that I thought it was handled. I thought it was better, but getting in touch with someone a few days ago brought it all back up. Like, seriously, like how much longer, how many more times do I have to work on this to really be healed and move forward, you know? So I was really bummed down. And my conclusion right now is I've tried many things. I have improved, but there is still work. So I always say to people, you know, I'm saying it to myself, is go back to the basics. Usually the solution to the most difficult situations is in the basics. You know, instead of trying to find something very complicated, something very new and different, is usually go back to the basics of everything. And one of the things I used to do to help children in traumatic situations, like one in particular, this mom brought her teenage son to me a few years ago, all the way from Mexico. She didn't mind coming once a week because he was very cold, didn't show any expressions, didn't touch anybody, just very isolated, you know, didn't show any affection, kind of strange. And I chose the simplest therapy for him, which is to just help him go through happy moments in his life. And I remember at the beginning, he said, I can't remember anything. I don't remember when I was a child. I don't remember when I was 5 or 4 or 6. And I said, okay, we're going to try anyway. You know, and we did it. And to make a long story short, within 3 weeks, the mom came on the 4th week and she brought gifts for all my kids. And I'm like, why are you doing this? It's like, my son hugged me. It's like I was cooking and he came behind me and he grabbed me and gave me this big hug and she was crying. And I didn't think that was a huge thing. He's like, no, you don't understand. He hadn't hugged me in 2 years. And I was like, wow. So I'm gonna do the same thing to myself because I'm feeling very like not wanting to show a lot of affection and I'm so tired of the lockdown, you know, but I work from home for 4 years now, almost 5, so I'm used to it. But most people are promising to enjoy more being home and not traveling so much. And I'm promising myself once this is over to go out more, to travel more, to be around people more, because that's what I need. I need the opposite because I have been too isolated for too long. So I'm going to give myself that therapy that I gave that kid, and hopefully that will help. That's what I remember when I was in that meditation, just go back to the basics.
Yeah, and it's good that you do have your goals as to where you're moving forward to, and at the same time, working on yourself to pull out those weeds. And like we talked about in our class today, even though you've been through that traumatic experience or whatever it may be before, we can go through it gentler now by focusing on your intuition and asking for its help. Pulling the weeds, don't leave the vacuum, putting in your new positive memories or thoughts that you want and moving forward. And it's good that you're taking that time for the quiet and the meditation and what you need to do for yourself.
Ananiam, you know how you mentioned about seeing that person again and it brought it back?
Mm-hmm.
Just get comfortable with leaving when that happens.
Yeah.
Find the exit because that's one of those weeds.
The forgiveness in there.
Yeah, that's true. I think we, or I, you know, get stuck into there again. I think it's over, but then whether you see a person or something brings up, you know, a different person brings that up on you, you relive it all over again instead of moving out of it as quickly as possible.
Yeah. It's just a matter of being in command of self and not, you know, everyone has been brought up so dysfunctionally that it's not to be polite to leave an
Mhm.
experience for yourself when you're struggling just because you think someone thinks they need to be there in that place because they said they would be there, but it makes our bodies and ourselves suffer. It's good to let it go
Yeah.
and replace.
Kevin, would you care to share? That is his name.
Yes.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate the meditation and so nice path. And so the first part of it was kind of being in my day-to-day a little bit. So kind of the veneer of my day. And then I went to a very youthful place. And then I went to a very macho place. And these were feelings, and I still had a picture, and the pictures, although not dramatic at all, matched the feelings. And I wrote down that when I have a feeling, the understanding piece is that my feelings are like directions to the understanding. And the other thing that I'm just very aware of is my understanding usually takes a day or a night's sleep. So I've gotten to a place of acceptance. So I know I just went through something, and there were 3 facets to it. And it's like, oh, so I just need to accept that that's where I am now. In the plant analogy, there may or may not be a weed. It might be a plant that's useful. I just don't know yet. And I'm just being in acceptance of that. And I don't know if that makes me slower than some people, but somehow sleeping on things, and I don't know, maybe it's a process. It's truly I'm just aware that for me, I need to accept what's going on. And then then I can get in my car. It's like, I need to go someplace, so I got to get in my car. So getting in my car is like that acceptance. And, I just don't get there right away. And so anyway, very nice experience. And it's like, I'm kind of going, And particularly today, I'm avoiding thinking about it. And I think I'm avoiding it because there's some feelings involved with it. And I don't know. I just don't think it's useful for me to get academic about my feelings. I mean, it's kind of what I'm trying to avoid. And that's the business guy in me. So thank you again. Appreciate the session today.
You're welcome.
Ke-
Thank you for sharing. That was that rational part of you there.
Kevin, you brought up something like for everyone that every single person's different and they handle it differently. And in your instance, I'm sort of your way, like it takes me a little bit longer to just kind of do something with it. Like I have a process. When someone tells me something and they totally shock me, I can't respond right away. I'm not like, that witty, like, like boom, boom. I have to absorb what I just heard. And then sometimes it's a little too late, but I'll go back eventually and, figure it out. But I'm glad you mentioned that because everyone's different.
Thank
And
you.
it's good to be different.
Reverend David, would you care to share with us?
Sure. My goal is peace. And I found it.
That's wonderful. Because when you have your peace, you share it with the rest of us.
Could you all hear him okay? He said, my goal was peace and I found it.
Great.
So is Kim no longer in?
No, she left us.
Just making sure that
Yeah.
we didn't leave anybody out.
No, I don't see her on there anymore.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing and for being here. Let us say a prayer before we depart. Father, Mother, God, or I am present, we give thanks for this wonderful time that we have had with each other of healing, sharing, and having a time to activate our own inner knowing. As we get ready to leave on our path, we ask for your infinite light of protection to be in with us, through and around us, through this building, people on Zoom, and everyone around us. We ask for your blessing and your protection. We are grateful for this day. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
We recorded the class and we'll have it on YouTube.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
What is the channel? Is it just United Fellowship?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
It's right after your. I was gonna say what the next one is, and I'm actually having a moment. So you did understanding?
It's imagination.
Imagination. That's
Okay.
Reverend David. He's doing imagination.
All right.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
I can imagine that. Oh, that's great. All right,
Thank
you
you,
guys have a
everyone.
beautiful
Bye.
evening.
You too. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.